Hey there everyone, AJ back again for the Mighty Glue Stick channel. Another patron request. Just shot this monster to the top of the list. So today we take a detailed look at the creepy little Berbalang. Taken from the rich monster mythology of the Filipino culture, they were adapted and made into Dungeons & Dragons monsters, first appearing in White Dwarf magazine issue 11, published in early 1979 by Albie Fior, who he wrote a scenario for them called The Halls of Tizen Thane in White Dwarf number 18 in 1981, and the Berbalang was included in the original Fiend folio. Some of the most interesting development of their ecology was detailed in the Planescape Settings sourcebook, A Guide to the Astral Plane, and they were beefed up in the Monster Manual 4th edition in 2008, and they appear in a rather altered and even more beefed up form in the Pathfinder role-playing game Bestiary number 3 in 2011. This gives me a lovely range of options for including the Berbalang at multiple levels of gameplay by including or excluding some of the special features that have been associated with the creature over the last 4 decades of the game. So, what is a Berbalang? It is a bipedal, gargoyle-like creature with leathery skin and bat-like wings. They are small, they have mottled and somewhat lumpy green or blue skin. Their faces are unpleasantly stretched and bestial, with lupine ears swept back over a long, bald skull. Their fingers end in sharp claws and they have small, fang-like teeth that they reveal only when eating. Otherwise, they tend to have a closed-lipped, pinched expression with wide, dark-rimmed, piercing eyes. Some may wear ragged scraps of clothing they steal from corpses, most wear nothing at all. Berbalangs spend most of the time hidden away in old tombs and barrow mounds, only rousing to feed, raising their young or seeking out some other secluded lair. They prefer to nest within a mile of some settlement that has a habit of burying their dead. Otherwise, because that's what they feed on. They are not related to ghouls, but they only eat the carrion of intelligent humanoid species. In particular, they derive a strange nourishment from the memories of those they consume, soaking up the experiences of pain, loss, and suffering that the dead felt while they were alive, as they tear the rotted flesh from their bodies with their fangs and claws, snap the bones, and suck the fetid marrow from inside them. They can supernaturally taste the residue of heartbreak the soul has left behind in its mortal frame. In places where times are tough and people experience hard lives, the Berbalang feasts relatively unobtrusively. Once a month it will disinter a corpse and physically hoist it into the air and fly it back to its lair to eat at its leisure. In this manner, they gradually accumulate a refuse pile of bones and whatever items were buried with the dead. They have no use for trinkets and jewellery, but they may make stacks of skulls to perch on and barricade their entrances with tangles of broken thigh bones and ribs, the clatter of which will alert them if their lair is being invaded. In places of relative comfort and tranquility, the Berbalang will seek out adventurers, as they are the most likely to suffer from sorrow, hardship and loss. And while the Berbalang can manage to ambush and kill a low-level, unawares, probably sleeping adventurer, they are not stupid and not interested in a fair fight at all. When no adventurers are around either, it will target a farming family and spoil their crops, kill livestock, and may stalk around the farmstead, opportunistically murdering a child or waiting for someone to die from starvation or disease, but they're not particularly patient hunters. Berbalang are in fact psychic predators with an amazing ability to project their mind and vitality into the astral plane, or even to manifest an astral construct of themselves in the material plane. So adept at doing this that it is almost impossible to tell if one is facing the actual Berbalang or merely a psychic duplicate, and even more complicated, they can also magically duplicate themselves by the use of the ability just like the mirror image spell. But this is not the most fascinating aspect of the Berbalang, which I'll get to in a moment. When in combat with these beings on the prime material plane, they have several very tricky abilities and powers. First, they are resistant and take half damage from bludgeoning, piercing and slashing damage from non-magical weapons that aren't silvered. They are totally immune to being charmed, and they have 120-foot dark vision and communicate in deep speech or primordial. They can, from their real body only, cast the mirror image spell once per day as a spell-like effect. They attack with their claws, doing slashing damage appropriate to the challenge rating you give them. Now, here's the fun part. Depending on how tough you need them to be, there's a range of special abilities that you can give them, all based on other versions and other editions. The Berbalang may enter into a sleep-like state. During that time, a physical projection of the Berbalang will appear next to it, and is controlled by the Berbalang until the image returns. The image is killed or the Berbalang is killed. The image can do whatever the Berbalang can do other than create its own false manifestation or cast mirror image, and has the exact same statistics as the Berbalang. If the manifestation is killed, the Berbalang takes 20 psychic damage and cannot use false manifestation or mirror image again for 24 hours. Also, a detect magic spell used within 30 feet of where the manifestation was killed will reveal a magical trail leading to where the Berbalang cast it from. You can allow the Berbalang to create up to 4 physical projections. If you choose this option, make sure to divide the total hit points of the Berbalang between itself and all of its duplicates. The hit points must be divided equally, and any reduction takes away from the total. For example, if the Berbalang has 45 total hit points and creates 2 projections, they all, including the original, have 15 hit points. If one gets killed and the Berbalang creates another duplicate to replace it, it divvies up the hit points again. They all now reduce their hit point total to 10, and so on. The Berbalang can do this even if it only has enough hit points to provide 1 hit point each, and the duplicates can still inflict the same amount of damage with a claw attack. The duplicates are independent, so they act as individuals with their own actions each round. If you want to increase how deadly this can be, allow the Berbalang to create the duplicates anywhere it can see within 120 feet of itself as an action. Otherwise, the duplicates always appear adjacent to its sleeping body. Berbalangs can create duplicates of themselves through concentration alone. Also possible, in this case, they can have the ability to transfer damage from their actual physical form so that the duplicates will die first. This can be tactically advantageous, particularly if the Berbalang has some form of healing available to it. Obviously, the duplicates can't drink healing potions and such, as they're just psychic constructs. However, they have no special immunities other than what the organic Berbalang has. You may opt that flanking Berbalangs can inflict sneak attack damage, and also that the duplicates can be exploded in blasts of bone and gore. That duplicate that damages everything adjacent to them. That's certainly one of the options that was available in 4th edition. You may opt to give the Berbalang a bite that can cause temporary paralysis, as per the Pathfinder version. The ability to cast Disguise Self as a spell-like ability so that it can infiltrate other communities. The ability to cast Charm Person and Ghost Sound. And they might be able to cast Dancing Lights, which they might be able to use. And they also may be able to use a Keening Moan that has an effect the same as a Bane spell. Casting Dancing Lights as they're sneaking up behind somebody is a favourite tactic from the folklore. Berbalangs are small, but they can carry a medium-sized or smaller humanoid target into the air, so they may grab paralysed victims and drop them from a height sufficient to kill them. They normally have a 40-foot flying speed, but that would probably reduce to a manageable 20 feet per round when they're hoisting a medium target into the air. I mean, they're only small. They have average stats across the board, aside from constitution, which is high, and their thick, leathery flesh provides them with some natural armour. Now, here's the interesting part. Berbalang spend the majority of their time deep in meditative sleep, while existing as astral projections in the astral plane. They do actually gather together and have a society quite at odds with the physical activities on the prime material plane. Some think that they're not exactly biological entities at all, but aberrant forms of life that straddle the borders between mind and matter. In the Silver Void, they gather in enclaves to talk, debate, learn, and even mate. It turns out that these solitary creatures are philosophers at heart and spend much of their time in lone meditation, contemplating existence, reality, perception, and a virtual limitless number of topics. Then they gather in the astral plane to exchange their theories. A few folks have tried to infiltrate the enclaves to learn the details of Berbalang theories. What they came to understand is that despite their fiendish appearance and monstrous reputation as chaotic evil carnivores, which they certainly are in the material plane, the Berbalangs' philosophies are remarkably gentle and pleasant. Their outlook on life and the multiverse is usually extraordinarily positive, uplifting and wondrous. The strange thing is, they don't feel they have any rightful place in it. They resign themselves to be loathsome, murderous monsters, undeserving of love or kindness, and they don't believe that they have any sort of reason to associate with other beings because they are loathsome predators, after all. These gatherings of astral Berbalangs occur within structures created by the Berbalangs for this very purpose. They're made of a silvery reflective substance that blends in well with the astral background. They are not at all interested in interacting with other species, so these structures are well protected, well guarded, with plenty of exits from which the Berbalangs can flee. And of course they can return to the material world, to their sleeping bodies at any time. Another curious aspect of them is that they mate in the astral plane, and their physical form gets pregnant back in the material plane. Yeah, they're certainly weird and unusual species with a lot of hidden depth to them. Thanks very much for the request, and I will speak to you guys again soon with more monsters. Just a reminder, if you've not subscribed already, feel free to do so. Be sure to hit that notification bell as I upload at crazy hours of the morning or night. For access to all the scripts and occasional special offers, consider becoming a patron of the channel on Patreon. For a minimum of just $1 a month, you can get all of the scripts that I have written for all of these videos. And join the community on our Discord server. There's a link down below. Come say hi. If your artwork was featured in this video, please let me know. I'd love to give you a shout out and promote artists here. All the video game and image and music content is recorded and edited under fair rights use for reasons of commentary, education, and social satire. Not that I ever do any social satire, but maybe. All content within follows the terms and conditions of the copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, which allows for fair use for purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. And I definitely consider this to be educational research. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. I'll catch you again soon.